Gill, welcome to Fashion Business Mindset.
Thank you for having me, Elizabeth. It's great to be with you.
So excited to dive into the first episode of season 4, and no better guest to have than to chat all things DECJUBA Foundation. But before we do that, Gill, can you just set the scene for our audience and just share a little bit about you, some insights into your journey before you became the General Manager of the DECJUBA Foundation?
I would love to. I come from predominantly a not-for-profit background, so I was working prior to this role at a charity organisation here in Melbourne called Kilda Mums, and they rehome donated nursery equipment to families in need right across the state. So I was there working for around 6 years and volunteering for a number of years prior to that. And it really gave me, I never expected to be working in the not-for-profit landscape at all, but it was a great career sort of transition opportunity for me. I'd previously worked in communications, had a little bit of a time at another fashion retailer, worked in sales as well, and then I had a stint living overseas with my family. And so I ended up being out of the workforce for a number of years and was looking for a way to come back in and upskill really. And I started volunteering with Kilda Mums, loved it, wanted to make that my job, and then ended up working there full time in PR and partnerships roles in fundraising. And I got a real understanding of what the needs of not-for-profits are, what works in terms of funding, and how, the relationships that you can build with corporate partners and that kind of thing. And then I segued after that into my role at the DECJUBA Foundation. Jump the fence, as we like to say.
Well, we're very glad that you did jump the fence. So it's purpose-led work. I mean, what you're doing, obviously, it's very, very purpose-driven, but even a purpose-driven role, doesn't come without its challenges. So we look forward to hearing, about all of the behind the scenes work and dynamics that go into, not-for-profit. So let's start with, sharing some dynamics about your role as General Manager of DECJUBA Foundation. What exactly does it involve? Can we share like a day in the life of your role with our audience?
Well, I want to start by saying that I think this is my dream job. This is a job that I absolutely I love. I love going to work every day and having the chance to work with a whole range of amazing charity partners and the amazing team at DECJUBA. So I'm, as you said, General Manager of the DECJUBA Foundation. I've been on board for coming up on around a year now. And basically what I'm doing is we are the philanthropic arm of DECJUBA, the fashion retailer. And we're basically looking for ways to support some amazing charities, both in Australia, in New Zealand, and worldwide. So I spend my days chatting to these amazing organisations, working out the ways that we can increase impact, tell the story, communicate that through to our staff and our customers. And the other side of that is really talking about philanthropy in general, and that's what is a big aim of mine, of the DECJUBA Foundation, of Tania Austin, who's the owner and CEO of DECJUBA, is really talking about bringing philanthropy more into the spotlight, encouraging people to be more open about their giving, or to be considering giving if they're not at that stage in their lives as yet, and really maybe bringing everyone on a journey with us.
Amazing. Can you dive a little bit deeper into the story behind DECJUBA, the ethos, and where this passion for philanthropy comes from? Because, from the outside looking at the business, there's so much activity that your organisation is doing. It seems like you're everywhere doing all the things. That doesn't happen if there's not that fundamental passion and drive in the business. So where does that come from? Share a little bit about DECJUBA. I'm sure our listeners are very, very familiar with the organisation, but there's so much that's happened with the expansion of the business over the last few years. It seems like stores are opening, very, very consistently. So maybe share a little bit around the biz, and we'll go into more about the not-for-profit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that the passion and the drive behind DECJUBA sits with the owner and CEO, Tania Austin, who is a real powerhouse and incredibly successful businesswoman. So she bought the brand back in 2008. You might know that she was previously at Cotton On, and had helped set up the Cotton On Foundation back in that time. And then she bought DECJUBA and has gradually built that up to 140 stores around Australia and New Zealand, plus the 2 online stores as well. And really with the aim to make everyone look and feel amazing. That's the aim for our customer, and and it really sort of travels right throughout the business. Tania has always had philanthropy really at the front of her mind, both personally and through the business. And DECJUBA as a business has been giving for a number of years with a small group of charity partners. And then as the business has sort of grown and become more successful, the aim was to put a bit more structure behind that and build it out a little bit more. It was sort of managed internally by a group of sort of the comms team and some of the business leaders for a little while, and then that just became bigger and bigger. And I think it was, funnily enough, it was during COVID when there was a bit of time to sort of reset within the business that Tania took that moment to go, okay, it's time to get everything sorted out. We'll set up the foundation with a formal structure, and we'll really make this a real focus of the business. And that's what she did at that point. So yes, it's always been very much within her core belief that you're working to give back wherever possible, and working to give back to the communities in which you operate. And she certainly managed to do that in a spectacular way.
Yeah, I think that, it really shows that a business is serious when they appoint someone like yourself, because again, managing internally, you can get so far, but at the end of the day, you are running a brand and a retail business. Yeah. So to have that, 100% focus on the leadership team from someone like yourself, no doubt, is extremely powerful and has allowed the foundation to gain this momentum and grow. And no doubt, the sky's the limit for what's coming down the pipeline for the foundation. So the DECJUBA Foundation works with local and international charity organisations with the aim of positively impacting 25 million lives by 2025, Gill. Now, that's no light task here.
No, it's no small KPI, is it?
No pressure on you at all.
Yeah, right.
But can we share a little bit more about how that plays out across the organisation, across people, product, planet? That seems to be a framework that our industry has, become very familiar with. So perhaps if we could share that a little bit more about those values across the business pillars, and I'd love to hear about some of those partnerships that, that you're nurturing and growing as well behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with the way it touches on each of those pillars within the business. So I think, and back to your point previously about seeing a lot of activity sort of happening with the foundation since I've come on board, that's been a real sort of dedicated growth phase where we've been onboarding some great partners and really creating some beautiful relationships with them, and then starting to really talk to our customers and our team about those. So there's been a fair bit of activity there. Really bringing our people along. When I talk about our people, I'm talking about our head office team, our retail teams right throughout Australia and New Zealand, and obviously our customers along on that journey with us, inspiring them to find out more about the partners that we're working with, looking at asking them to think about the ways that they can give back as well, really making DECJUBA a place that they want to work at, our staff want to work at, and they want to, it's a way for them to feel very connected and involved in the success of the business, I think, as well. And we offer all sorts of different opportunities for engagement for our team as well. Planet, I guess it's, like I said before, it's that giving back and to the communities that you're operating in, and we really feel that responsibility. And also, we are working within that sustainability framework. I won't sort of speak to that so much because we have a new head of sustainability coming on shortly who'll really be focusing on that space. But we try and tie in our foundation partners to that as much as we can as well. And the product side of things, you know, we want people to understand that they have power in their purchasing decisions, and to feel that when they're purchasing from DECJUBA, it's you know, not just to look and feel amazing, but also to do amazing things. So when they are, you know, purchasing a bag at checkout, they understand that 100% of the proceeds of that are going into DECJUBA Foundation to do some good, or a particular tea that we're talking about and selling at a particular time, you know, there's a real story behind that, and then it's, you know, we have a responsibility to report back on that. But things like those products on sale in store really gives our team members a chance to be talking about foundation at every single transaction, which is very, very exciting. And you know, they get to weave that story into our partnerships, into every conversation with our customers.
Yeah, absolutely love that. I love how multifaceted it is. So before we dive into some of these amazing, you know, charity organizations that you're partnering with, I'd love to hear more about the people element when it comes to your team members and consumers. Because it's such a powerful, you know, force to be working in synergy. So you mentioned that, you know, there's some inspiration for the team around getting involved. So can we talk about, firstly, what does getting involved look like? You know, obviously we know about the customer, you know, the product activations in store. What else are the team doing? How are they getting involved? Is there fundraising? Is there volunteering? Yeah, what does that look like? How does that play out?
Yeah, absolutely. All of those things. So we have volunteering opportunities with our foundation partners that are ongoing. And we find that they can be really transformative experiences. You know, when you've been hearing, you know, and reading about the partnerships that we have with certain organizations, and then, you know, our team get to go and experience a day hands-on volunteering. We had a team that just recently was out at Kilda Mums, who are a foundation partner of ours, for the day, and they were just, you know, absolutely blown away at the difference that they could make in just one day of volunteering. And they were, you know, on site hearing these stories of impact, and having a real understanding of what packing a bag of clothes or cleaning a pram meant. To our team that went out recently on the food bank mobile supermarket bus, which we partnered to sponsor, and, you know, standing there talking to people face to face about about food insecurity and what it means to their families, and how, you know, they have the dignity of choice coming aboard the bus and choosing the food that they need. So bringing those partnerships to life is a really important part of our team feeling a connection with what we're doing in the foundation. We're also just about to launch our workplace giving program, so there'll be an opportunity for them to contribute on a regular basis, knowing that DECJUBA is also matching all of their contributions as well. So we're, you know, in it together. We've got skin in the game. Everyone's contributing. So that's another exciting aspect. But we try and draw it into, like, literally all aspects of the business, talking about what we're doing.
Absolutely love it. I'm sure that there's some really profound experiences happening. So for our listeners, Gill, who perhaps haven't been involved in the way that you've just shared in terms of volunteering or even contributing, what's that emotional feeling like on the day? I'm sure you're seeing team members, you know, arrive, they're on the ground, as you said, you know, they're either packing or they're actually speaking to people who are there that the organisation is helping. I'm sure that there's some emotional moments and confronting moments in time, but what does the team generally come away? How do they come away feeling after an experience like that?
I think there's two main emotions that they feel, which really come through very often. The first one is that they are surprised at their level of need. That always, you know, that always really comes through, that they are like, oh my goodness, you know, that woman who's just like me, or that man who's, you know, he's trying to support his family. Hasn't been in a situation like this before, and now he's having to ask for help. That sort of thing, particularly in the current climate, I think comes through very often. And the second overwhelming feeling is pride, and that's pride in that they work for an organisation which is doing something to help, and is providing them with an opportunity to see what a way that, what business success can look like. So success to, in our business is being able to do all of these amazing things and build these amazing partnerships. That's how we want to show that. And when they get to experience that and know that they're making a difference, it's really, it's very impactful.
Yeah, no doubt. Gill, do you remember your first experience with volunteering?
Well, it ended up being a career change for me, Elizabeth. So I do, absolutely.
It did.
Yeah, I do. I was volunteering quite regularly at St Kilda Mums, and after a while, I thought, this is where I want to be. I want to be here every day. It's such a, it really makes you understand that you can do the small things that you can do can make a really great difference, a big difference in people's lives. It's those little incremental things, and I think that we try and relay that back to our team when we're talking about the foundation. We're talking about positively impacting 25 million lives. When you talk about that one life, that one person who receives a food package, or is receiving something for their baby, or is receiving some period products, that is just as impactful as talking about the community of 17,000 people in Uganda who we've recently sort of supported. So, that number shouldn't feel overwhelming, because we often drill down and really talk about that one life, that one person that you're supporting and making a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the amplification of that, isn't it? You have this positive impact on one life, and then, it's that person's families, and then the flow and effect of that as well.
That's a key point, Elizabeth. So when we're talking about, 25 million lives, and it sounds like a big overwhelming number, we're already halfway there, and we're well on target too, by the way. I'll point that out. But
congratulations. Amazing.
I know. It was a little daunting when I started inheriting that figure, but no, it is. I can see how achievable it is, because like you said, it has a radiating out effect.
Yep.
So when you're supporting one person, the volunteer who's supporting that person is positively impacted. The child of that person is positively impacted as well. So it has this real ripple effect throughout the community when we're able to lift everyone up.
Yeah. Very, very powerful. And I love that, there's options for your team members to get involved. So whether it is the volunteering, then you've said that it can be a financial contribution, and you're saying DECJUBA is matching that financial contribution. That's amazing.
Yes.
So so it's great to have the variety of options. So no matter, who you are or where you're at, there's always something that can be done, whether it's time or contribution of money at some point in time.
As well. There's often times where we'll and we're looking to do this sort of more, working with our partners to sort of say, do you need a particular skill set to come out and work with you at any time? Is that something that will add value as well?
Amazing. And so can we talk about customers now, Gill? So I know that you have products. So there are T-shirts and other products where there is, the proceeds of that product will be donated to an organisation. But how else are customers involved? Are there other activations or activities where you've involved customers, whether that's been with volunteering or fundraising, or are there plans to do so in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest way that we're looking to do this, the best example is we've just launched a major partnership with Smiling Mind. And so this is our biggest partnership to date. It's a 3-year, $3.6 million partnership in that childhood mental wellbeing space. Something I'm really, really proud of, not only for the level of investment, but for the way, this is a prime example of leading by example, of encouraging others to be involved in this issue, which is affecting every single one of us in some ways. Sort of mental health is something positive or negative that we're all involved in experiencing to a certain extent. And so it's a real movement that we are wanting people to get on board with, and our customers are going to be a huge part of that. So we'll be working on some in-store activations coming up later in the year, encouraging people to sort of talk more openly and look into resources to assist in their mental wellbeing and the mental wellbeing of their children. So it'll be sort of a bigger play than anything that we've done before in this space that we feel is so important, and that we're really going to get involved in. And we know that we're going to be able to change a whole generation with this campaign and give them the tools to be able to really have more resilience and better mental wellbeing.
Yeah, we all need support in that area, in particular after the last couple of years. It's always been very, very important.
Yes.
And of course, the name of this podcast is Fashion Business Mindset.
Yeah.
So we're always talking about mental health, well-being, support systems, all the things that we need, not only in business, but in life. So that's such a powerful thing to be doing. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about Smiling Minds, about that organisation, what they do, and why you've chosen to partner with Smiling Minds?
Absolutely. So some of the listeners might be familiar with the Smiling Mind app. So it started out as a mindfulness tool and has grown significantly, and it's a real tool, particularly for children, to be able to learn some skills around mindfulness and meditation, and being able to sort of get through situations that might come their way and be able to positively, deal with those. So the research that they've done and has been really quite significant into when there's the opportunity to give children these tools from a really early age, particularly through their schools and also doing it and, with their families as well, it can set them up to have this fantastic resilience to deal with things later in life. And this, a lot of the discussions that we're having about mental health, I think you'd agree with me, are really negative. It's like, it's all doom and gloom. It's like, we're in this situation, it's awful, all these people are impacted. But there's a real positive story behind it, and that's that there are ways that we can change this and we can turn it around and we can give children those tools. And that's what got us really super excited with working with Smiling Mind. Let's do something that doesn't just deal with the crisis right now, but can make a change within the next generation. And it just needs some publicity around it and for people to get on board. And obviously it needs a funding investment. And we thought, this is what we can do. We can talk to our customers about this. We can talk to other people in philanthropy about this. We can talk to the government about this. We can create this movement to try and get, as many people on board, knowing that they can create real change and impact, a whole generation of children. So that kind of big picture thinking is what we're all about at the DECJUBA Foundation. Tania really inspired that. She's like, let's look at, there's answers, let's find them. Let's put out those big numbers. Let's, invest significantly and have others look at that and go, I want to be part of that. I want to get on board with that.
Yeah, I absolutely love that approach. You're 100% right. We've been talking a lot about the crisis and the doom and gloom and, the fallout of everything that everyone's been through. But at the end of the day, it's not very productive if we don't find solutions. And as you said, being focused on those solutions and the power of the collective as well, with what you're doing. Obviously, you're driving this, but you've got the power of collective that are coming together to be able to implement this and having it customer facing. Well, I don't think there's anything more powerful than that.
Yeah,
getting
absolutely.
And that whole education piece, no doubt, that will roll out over time. What has been the response, Gill, from your customers so far with any of the initiatives that, have been customer facing? And so what's the response been? And how have they communicated that? So you find that they're jumping on social media and leaving positive comments? Are they emailing? How are you getting kind of feedback?
Resoundingly, the response has been really positive. It's been, there's been some great responses on social media. I think the ones most particularly that I really respond to is we're very agile as an organisation and as a foundation. And I think that, coming from a privately owned business and, Tania can make decisions really quickly and we can react to situations really quickly. So one of our pillars, we have 5 pillars that we sort of work within with the foundation, and one of them is emergency relief. And so we've been able to respond really quickly for things like the bushfires of last year, the floods as well. We've recently responded really quickly to give some crisis aid in New Zealand in response to the flood and the cyclone there. And that's when our customers really talk talk to us and say, I love that you're able to do that. I love that you're seeing what's going on. My shop down the street was flooded. My community is really affected right now, and you're connecting in with organisations and making donations to be able to help there. So I think when we can respond really quickly, that gets a fantastic response. And they're also showing it to us in their purchasing decisions. We recently had a T-shirt, you deserve amazing, or and it's almost sold out. It was fantastic. Everyone is really thrilled to be wearing it. They're proud to be talking about DECJUBA Foundation and acknowledging what we're doing and feeling that they're part of it, which is really important. That's the main thing. It's not sitting removed. It's like everyone can be part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's end to end right across the organisation. I think that's where, these amazing goals that you're striving towards, that's how you make it happen. So can you talk to us, Gill, about any of the challenges? So everything that you've shared to date, what are some of the overwhelming challenges that kind of, you're faced with doing what you do? What are some of those barriers that you've got to kind of break down every day in a role like this?
I think that it's making sure that I'm always telling stories about what we're doing, reporting back and demonstrating, what we've been able to achieve and what we're aiming to achieve with the foundation. It's not necessarily a challenge, but it's that constant, people want to understand if they're going to be donating to you or they're going to be purchasing something from you. They want to understand where that's going and how you're supporting your partners. I think sort of to reverse, what you're saying about challenges, I've really made a conscious decision to try and remove the mindset that philanthropy and giving can be a challenge in this role, because I think a lot of organisations put that barrier up and then it paralyzes them. It's like, it's too hard, I'm too scared, I'm not sure I'm going to make the wrong move. What if, our customers say this? Whereas really, I think it's best to at least have a go, start somewhere, dive in, start, giving. Everything that you do in this space is going to be helpful, and then you can learn as you go and build out from that. So rather than, being sort of hamstrung with decision making, we've really chosen to go, let's go. These are the things that we know resonate with our customers and our team. This is, this is the impact we can make in this short term, and we've just backed ourselves in and gone for it. And it's been so rewarding. Without, we obviously, do our due diligence very thoroughly and that kind of thing, but you don't have to be paralyzed by a strategy where you just don't know where to go next.
Yes, I think that feeling of being paralyzed, it's actually quite common because it can be such a mammoth task. It does get overwhelming. But as you said, just start. Are there some practical tips, Gill, that you could share with any brands that are tuning in that really want to do more in this space? Like, what are some of those practical things that they can start doing? Whether they're, obviously starting a foundation is a much bigger, task to undertake versus partnering perhaps with other organisations that are already established. So we've had I Equal Change on the podcast. We've had Thread Together on the podcast, amazing organisations, and very frictionless to kind of for a brand to get involved in an organisation like that straight away. But yeah, is there anything that you could share based on, obviously your years and years of experience in this space and still, taking things next level? What are a few things brands could do?
I think I'll start with if you're just building out your business, if it's, if you're, at that very starting point, have a think about if you want to be giving back and structure it into your business right from the get-go. It should be in your whole philosophy, in your strategy, in the mindset of your business. I'd really encourage you to do that. And then in terms of other brands, I think it doesn't always have to be, you can sort of start in the corporate partnership space. There's connections that you can have with charities that might be close to your head office or might be close to where, the majority of your stores are based. So that, and they don't always have to be a big one. It can be something really small, but something that resonates with your team that they can get involved in. They can be part of the growth of. They can spend time volunteering out, donating out, that kind of thing. I think building that within your team is really special. And then you can sort of go out from there. But I think, you know, having a chat with an organization and feeling, you know, rather than just going, okay, I need to give back somewhere and this is what I want to do and what's going to work for my brand, the conversation should really be reverse engineered, where a cause resonates with you, you have a chat with them and say, how can we help you? Those magic words, how can we help you? And then you start your discussion from there, because that's really the question that every not-for-profit wants a funder to ask, rather than the other way around.
I absolutely love that. Everyone can ask that question, right? How can we help you?
Yeah.
And then, you know, it will organically build from there. You'll build a relationship, and then all of a sudden you're just doing that authentically and organically. What advice would you give around sharing those experiences with a brand or business's customers or audience? So, you know, there can be a bit of hesitation around that. A lot of businesses are doing amazing work behind the scenes. They're constantly volunteering. They're getting their teams involved in fundraising. They're working with local charities or even international organizations, but they may not necessarily be sharing that consumer facing. There can be some hesitancy around that. Really around, I guess, you know, some concerns around not looking authentic as a business, you know, this kind of glorifying, oh, we're involved and doing all these wonderful things. But what would your advice be to anyone who's holding back with sharing what they're doing, you know, as a business?
I think authentic was the word I was going to use as well, Elizabeth. If it comes from authenticity, you know, you can't really go too wrong. And speaking from the you know, when I used to work at in a charity organization, it was really helpful when businesses would talk about the work that they were doing with us. We really loved it, because any type of publicity like that is shining a spotlight on the work that you're doing. It's you know, someone is looking at your post where you're volunteering and they are going, oh, I didn't know that you could do corporate volunteering there, or I didn't know that I could donate my X to this place. So when there's a movement and people are talking about you know, your organization, if that's really helpful, it reaches different people, and it's fantastic. I think that when it really resonates with customers, particularly when they can see that a business is doing more than just putting their name to something. It actually, you know, showing that they're going and volunteering, or they're at the event, or they're donating the X, that level, it's a trust that you build with your customer to show, you know, we're not just doing this to show you, to, you know, sort of say that we're doing good things. We're doing it. We're really doing it. And, you know, customers respond to that. They like to see that the brands that they're supporting are also giving back.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. There's some gold in there, just authentically sharing your story and what you're doing and why you're doing it and why it's so important to the ethos of the organization. But then also for anyone who is holding back, who's tuning in, by sharing that authentically, as you said, that's going to then shine a light on whether that's an organization that your customers or even your community were not aware of, your team members were not aware of, those who haven't yet been involved. So again, it is that amplification of, shining a light and showcasing what we all can be doing to giving back and contributing. And
talking about the ways that other people can help, that you can help. So not just saying this is what we're doing, this is saying, you know, we're doing this, you could think about doing this as well. That's really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely love it. Jill, can you share, you've mentioned a few of the organisations that you're working with, obviously St Kilda Mums is where it kind of all started, and then Smiling Minds, and who else are you supporting at the moment? And what's the criteria to choose these organisations that you do support and partner with?
Yeah, sure. So we've got quite a broad criteria. So we work within the 5 pillars that I mentioned before. So that's education, essentials, empowerment, experience, and emergency relief. So that creates a little bit of a framework for us to sort of work out which charities will fit within those. And we really have consciously chosen to support some smaller, more grassroots organisations, right through to some bigger international organisations like the Hunger Project. So Tania and the team have been supporting the Hunger Project for a number of years, and a lot of our customers have really come along on the journey with them over the that period of time and seen some amazing change that's been able to be made in some of the communities, particularly in Uganda. So that's a really special one for us. And then all the way to a small social enterprise called Metal over in WA, which are doing amazing things, helping get victims of domestic violence back into the workforce. We really liked their whole, the program that they were running, because it wasn't, like I said before, wasn't just addressing the issue at the time, but looking for pathways out of crisis. That really is something that really resonates with us. So how can we ensure that the person is safe right now, and then they can build a future, they can be financially self-sufficient, they can look after their children, that kind of thing. And we also wanted to support a charity in WA. We have a number of stores there. We want our team there to be able to talk to customers about the DECJUBA Foundation as a whole. And did you know that right here in WA, we're supporting this organisation? So that side of things is important as well. Right through to, we've recently signed, entered a partnership with the Australian Ballet, which is very special to us. Yeah. Under that idea of experience and making the arts more accessible to everybody. So I think, we've really discovered that there's a lot of people who find the ballet intimidating, or they'd love to go but feel they can't. And so we're trying to break down a few of those barriers. And also we're sponsoring a program called Education and Outreach with the ballet, which is a 3-year commitment to have dance classes and choreographers going into sort of more remote or disadvantaged areas around the country, and bringing dance to them and giving lessons and helping them to put on a performance and that kind of thing. So that's a very special one. And then the last one is we've just launched our 2 New Zealand partners. So that I'm really proud of that. Nurturing Families and Orange Sky in New Zealand are our 2 charity partners there, both doing amazing things, and our team there are so thrilled to be able to have these charities that they can connect with and talk to customers about as well. So yeah, there's about 16 charity partners we're working with, and there's just a few.
Wow, just a few. I absolutely love the diversity. I love the diversity across the partners, across the experience and everything that you're doing. And I love that you light up when you talk about it. I'm sure when our listeners watch the video back, it's just, you can see that the passion that you are radiating, Gill. It's pretty inspiring. So Gill, can you share what are some of the biggest milestones? You've mentioned a few of the major, partners, but what are some of the biggest milestones that come, that are top of mind that you and your team have achieved, throughout your time heading up the DECJUBA Foundation?
I think launching our workplace giving program coming up is I'm really proud of that. I think, and knowing that DECJUBA is going to match all of those donations, I think that's really significant. It really talks to the fact that we are, everyone's got skin in the game here, and we're all in this together, achieving something very, very special. I think also I've mentioned Smiling Mind. That's a really significant one, and that makes me really proud, because I know that there's been, their aim is to raise $46 million to get this program up and running and to achieve something really quite amazing. And we are the first. They've had the research. They've known that they're going to be able to do this for quite a while, and no one's come on as a funding partner until we did. Wow. And we've had that belief. We're able to grow something together. And we feel so positive that what we're doing is going to be inspiring to others and create this movement. I think that is the real thing. That's the key. When you can have successful business women like Tania and a successful business like DECJUBA go, we find this really important. We're in, who's in with us. I think, and there's been probably the biggest reaction to that partnership that we've had has been from the philanthropy community. And that has really made me very, very proud, because I thought they're taking notice. They're seeing what we're doing, and they may be asking themselves some questions as well about how do we be more public? Let's give more, let's do more.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations to you, Jill, and to Tania and the entire team. It is absolutely phenomenal work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Question just for Tania.
Yeah.
How does she do this? Like, obviously, with running the business the way that she is and the expansion of the business over the last few years, and no doubt, of course, she's surrounded by amazing team members such as yourself and the rest of the organization. But how hands-on is Tania when it comes to the foundation? And how does she carve out the time to do all of these wonderful things? I think this is important for our listeners that, the leadership teams that are heading up businesses, sometimes it can be popped into that too hard basket. And you've shared the reasons, why, the driving force behind why DECJUBA is doing what it's doing. But yeah, what have you observed from the way that Tania operates in the business to make this happen, Jill?
Tania is very, very hands-on within the business, and she absolutely lives and breathes the foundation. Her heart and soul is within the foundation. So she and I work really closely together. We also have an advisory board that we also work with to help us as well. But she and I are able to make decisions really quickly, which is great. And she empowers her team to do amazing things, which I think is really important. But the fact that she loves her business, and she believes in it, and she's focused on the success of it. And she's said to me, when I focus on the success and getting all those things right, and a business is doing well, then we get to do all of these amazing things with the DECJUBA Foundation. So that's the driver for her, making everyone look and feel amazing, and these things that we're able to do with the foundation. So it's I must say, working for a privately owned company is a really amazing thing. And seeing her bring these things to life, the way that foundation has been able to come to life with her belief, and then her putting a real focus on it and seeing what we've been able to do has been really lovely, amazing.
Yeah, amazing. And we love seeing organisations such as DECJUBA just become leaders in this space. We need more organisations like yours to be showing the way. And, as you've shared, it's a movement. Yes, DECJUBA makes amazing products, and it's an amazing organisation, and you can look at the business with admiration around all of the commercial dynamics. But this is a movement. And as you said, this is life-changing. You are changing lives, and a significant number of lives along the way. So no doubt, that inspiration, that driving force would be palpable in terms of the culture of the business.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, Jill, we're going to switch channels and talk about you for a moment. This is a question that I ask to all of my guests because of the mindset element of this podcast. Now, no doubt in a role like yours, being the general manager of the DECJUBA Foundation, it's a dynamic role, and I'm sure that, you're juggling all of the things on a daily basis. What kind of routines or support systems or practices do you have in place to really help with your mindset, your well-being, that allow you to operate at the level that you do in this role?
So I think I've always really, having networks of particularly women around me who I can sound ideas off and talk things through with, and that, we're all focused on lifting each other up. And not competing. I think that's really important. We share in each other's successes, and we bounce ideas off, and that sort of support network has been really amazing for me, and I tap into that. A lot. From a physical side of things, I do a lot of Pilates. I think just having regular exercise and also just time to be able to think about things. I'd like to just be very silent and sort of, focus during that time, because my head is whirring all the rest of the time. You can probably tell by the way that I speak that my mind is always whirring as well. So yeah, trying to carve out. I'm not so great at the mindfulness side of things, although my friends at Smiling Minds are really working on changing that a little bit. But if I can carve out some time that's just for me, and often that's through exercise, and I find that that's really helpful as well. But and also just having there needs to be a time you need to have time to switch off. A lot of the things that I'm doing, sometimes the stories, you're talking to organisations that are really trying to tackle some really major issues, and sometimes you want to take that on yourself, but I think trying to separate that out and understanding what is possible and what is not possible, and where you can contribute, and acknowledging what that impact can be. You need to have a sort of certain structure around the way that you work with that as well.
Yeah, I could not agree more. So thank you for sharing that. I love that you spoke about, the network of women that you have around you. It's actually International Women's Day today.
Yes,
so
it is.
we are recording on the 7th of March. So happy International Women's Day. Yeah. And I think, it's timely. I was actually reflecting this morning. I was actually setting up a reel to post a bit later today, and I was tagging all the women that I work with and the ones that it was just, I ran out of tags to be able to tag everyone who's amazing in my network, but I certainly couldn't do what I do without an amazing, network of women around me. And there's a few men in there as well, but, it's definitely very inspiring and I think it's very powerful to be able to share what you're going through in a vulnerable way with your network of women. I think that, we all kind of need that in business and in life. So I think it's an important reminder for our listeners to find what works for them, but certainly, tap into a network, a support network, on a consistent basis, because no matter what we're doing, we all need that to keep us going and keep that resilience kind of ticking along as well. We can't do that alone. And the exercise as well. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Love my Pilates as well, Gill. So yeah, got something in common there.
Absolutely.
Now, to finish off, Gill, what are your key to success predictions for the fashion industry in 2023 and beyond when it comes to philanthropy?
I think that, having the ability to inspire your customers to think about their purchasing in a different way is really going to come to the forefront. Whether it be about, purchasing a product where they're thinking about what's going to happen at the end of its life, or you're offering as a retailer avenues for how they're going to dispose of that at the end of its life, or that you're presenting them with options as to, you're purchasing this product and this is how it can be impactful and helping somebody else. Those sorts of things, weaving those stories in is really going to be important. And then also, I think that conscientious buying, do I connect with this brand and their whole ethos rather than just that product in the moment? That's going to, people are understanding that they have power in their wallet, and that they have a responsibility in their spending as well. And I think you need to be able to tell a story around that and really have structures in place. How are you going to address that for the ultimate success?
Yeah, absolutely love that. It's more than just the product now, isn't it? It is about connection. It's about community. It's about positive impact. And it's about doing what we can, being responsible businesses to really, amplify our positive impact on the world and not, the kind of make, take, waste model that has been in place in the past. Thank you, Gill. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time and your knowledge today. How can our listeners get involved in the DECJUBA Foundation?
I would love you to follow along and on Instagram, particularly at DECJUBA, and see what we're doing. You can follow me as well at Gill DECJUBA Foundation to see particularly the work of the foundation. I talk about it a lot and share lots of stories as well around that. And you can also, if you're purchasing from DECJUBA, you can buy a bag when you check out. It's good for the environment, and you'll also be supporting DECJUBA Foundation. And yeah, we'd love we'd love people to really get involved and see what we're doing and be inspired. The ultimate way that you can show that you are supporting what we're doing is to think about giving back yourself to one of the charities that we support, or in any other way, because everyone can be a philanthropist. That's the key message.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Gill. We'll be supporting you, of course, and we'll be stalking what you do next. So again, thanks so much for sharing the insights into the DECJUBA Foundation. And I'm sure that our listeners will be absolutely inspired, and I'm sure that many of them will get involved. So yeah, we'll keep in touch, and watch this space, everyone, for what Gill and the team does next. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks so much.